Well, good day. My name is George Pirie, and I'm born in South Porcupine, Ontario, and raised in the mineside village of Domex and Dome, into a family of together 5 boys and 2 girls. My father worked at the Dome for 47.5 years, retiring there in 1985, and my son is still employed with, or is employed with, Goldcorp. So collectively, we've been members in the mining community, or had somebody working at Dome, Placer Dome, Goldcorp for over 100 years. So yes, grew up in the freedom of Dome and Domex, and it actually was a quality of life that led us, my wife and I, to come back here to get married here, and away at school. The first part of our work career to come back here. In the 1980s, our daughter Shayla was born in Sudbury. We moved back up here to try to replicate that same type of freedom and quality of life that we grew up with in South Porcupine in the Timmins area. We moved away for about 5 years. Career took me to Vancouver, and I was lucky enough to serve in all the departments, get experience in all the departments within Placer Dome, finance, exploration, projects, and rose to become CFO of Placer Dome North America, and CFO of Placer Dome Canada, presidency of Placer Dome Canada. And our family moved back up here, completed their high school at Roland, Michigan, and went on to their post-secondary careers in Ontario. When I was here, when I came back here as presidency of Placer Dome Canada, I formed a Porcupine joint venture with Kinross, and those mining lands are the basis of Goldcorp's mining lands now, and including the Hollinger pit, the New Century pit, of course, will be an expansion of that Dome pit, the Hoyle mine, which is a fabulously rich mine, all of the McIntyre and Hollinger properties. So from there I went on to various careers. Breakwater was again more international experience, and various other junior companies and boards. I've been back in the area full time for about 6 years now, 5 years, my wife and I. And in that period of time, I've re-immersed myself in the community. I'm a member of the Timmins Economic Development Corporation, and I'm currently chairman of the Board of Governors from London College. I'll also serve on Wabashing Resources Incorporated, which is the First Nations corporation that was set up by Wabashing to maximize the business opportunities they have available to them on the traditional territories. And I'm a representative on the Niwin Corporation, which is a unique corporation for First Nation communities in the area. Tremendously progressive, excellent business partner in Goldcorp that has been a huge sponsor of that corporation. That's very important to me. The reason I'm involved with this election right now, I thought it was imperative that I get involved. If I didn't feel that we were at a critical juncture in this town's history, I wouldn't be involved, but we are. Most of the time after amalgamation, we had around 50,000 people. I think the peak population was 53,000 people. The sign beside the road says 45,000 people, but census says 41,000 people. So we actually have to pull all of the community together, all facets of the community, education, health, business, cultural, and social, to first of all recognize the challenges that we've had, but also to recognize that we must work together to achieve the potential that Timmins has. We'll change to a committee style of administration, if you will, at the council level. So our council members are actively working with the departments so that it's not just a line item on the budget. We know exactly what it is. That's critical because our revenue base is sliding, our taxes are going up, we cannot afford to lose any more residents moving out because our taxes are too high. We've got to keep all the businesses. It's been stunning in my conversations to date throughout the community, the number of small businesses that are telling me if it doesn't change, they're gone. They can't afford to stay here. We've got to rope that in, we've got to reel that in, we've got to control. Non-discretionary spends are huge. Sewer, water, roads. We cannot bury our head in the sand in those. They're real, they're out there, we've got to address them. We've got a debt load that we put on with the water and sewage plants. We've got again, a non-discretionary spend. If we take a look at this, Highway 101 through town from Riverside, through Algonquin, down to the other end of Porcupine. That's probably going to be about, conservatively, $150 million. We don't know exactly what's going to happen when we dig through the ground in Schumacher on that four-way corridor. We know Algonquin is going to be horrendously expensive, probably with some surprises that we're not anticipating. We know, even outside of that, our infrastructure deficit is huge. We know places like Father Les Costello, where the sewage pipes, the water pipes, are over 100 years old. They are going to have to be replaced. We know we've got a problem in the East End with South Porcupine and Porcupine with the sewage pumps. We've got a history, documented history of raw sewage being introduced into that lake that will soon probably approach $30 million. We've got to stop throwing good money after bad. We've got to start doing things right the first time. Our spend has got to be right the first time. So we have to have an active, engaged council so that they're involved with administration, that they know exactly what's going on. Key to success with working with the province, Queen's Park, is that the region has to speak with one voice. Timmins has been the center of the regional government, Northeastern Ontario Municipal Association. We're not now. That relationship has been shattered. Unfortunately, we've got to repair that relationship. We've got to be able to go down and speak to Queen's Park with one voice. And we've got to show them why their investment in the north will be a win for them. We've got to be able to attract and market this region as a solution for all. This region is a solution. It is not a problem. Our issues will demonstrate and show a solution, not problems. And we can do it here because this is a vast and magnificent city, sitting in a vast and magnificent land, and it's ours to seize. We can be at the forefront in all these areas. Exciting time to demonstrate exactly what Timmins can do and how to do it. I've used the words open, honest, transparent. And to me, that boils down to one word: communication, and honest communication. If events are happening, make sure the population knows exactly what the issues are. Communicate them open, honestly, and transparently. There will be, I'm sure, a few, if I'm elected mayor, we get in there, there's going to be some things that are discovered that we're not aware of, but be open and honest and transparent. There's low sewage in Porcupine Lake. There's a problem. Make sure that you're holding a community dialogue. Put the liaison committees in place so that the citizens have the opportunity to talk to the administration about exactly what the issues are. Nahancha Park isn't the only area that's an old tailings area. Gillies Lake Park is an old tailings area. The sledding area along Highway 655 is an old tailings area. There's countless old tailings areas that are used in this town as recreation areas. Everybody should be aware of that. But when issues arise because of the fact that we're an area that's been mining for 120 years, make sure they're fully understood, communicated, and the action plan is transparent. So that in fact, are we doing this, that, or the next thing? And then, when it's out there, it's also very easy to hold people responsible and accountable for executing on that action plan as it was supposed to happen. There should be no surprises. There should be no surprises. Everybody's got streets that are in terrible shape. Underneath those streets, we've got a rotting infrastructure. People will be less angry about not getting the street paid when they understand there's no use paying that street if they have to come back 3 years later and they get up to put a sewer in. Understand there's a sequence. Unless you know, I mean, I agree, there's some terrible, terrible streets and potholes have to be filled, but there is and will be a consensus within the community if in fact people are informed about when that problem will be addressed. Open, honest, transparent, and honest in relation to the cost. We need every citizen and every taxpayer and the dollar, the taxpayer's dollar, treated with the respect they deserve. Everybody works hard for their dollars. My position hasn't changed from the day that I was interviewed when I filed my papers. I simply said, I was asked the question, and I said, well, why don't you reframe that question? Would I ever support a festival that lost $600,000 the first year and $2 million the next year? No. Would I support a festival that continued to transfer the financial risk to the taxpayers and be burdened by to be borne by the taxpayers? I said no. But would I support a festival that's run by a non-for-profit that made money, transferred money back into the city? Yes, I would. We have a Timmins Festival Committee that runs, I think, a very successful, at least I'm thinking, for the last 3 years, has run a very successful, I think it's Rock and River, it's Timmins Festival Committee. Can we improve that? I don't know. I don't know exactly how they run. I do know there's models out there like Dauphin, Manitoba. 30 years ago, they started the same type of idea, but it was going to be a country and western festival, 4-day country and western festival in Dauphin, Manitoba. And they were the first year run by the city. First year they were spectacularly unsuccessful because they realized they didn't know what they were doing. They put their heads together and they said, how are we going to do it? So they formed a non-for-profit corporation. It's all based and run by volunteers. And they're just entered their 30th year and they put millions of dollars back into the community. Can I support that model? Yes. It's a festival everybody can be proud of. It's a festival that is worth celebrating the success, again, everybody working together, massive amount of volunteers. And I will say, there was a massive amount of volunteers and there's a massive sponsors, and we have to recognize that success. Let's build on that success, let's direct it and manage it properly, and I think with the right business plan, more than likely to be a success. And I'll support that business plan. It shows how this can be transformed into a success that does not transfer the financial risk to the taxpayer, non-for-profit corporation, returning money back into the community. One of the local artists that I've known my whole life, wonderful individual. And I just put that out to him. Wouldn't it be wonderful to put that money back into the vehicle that was set, making money, back into a vehicle that was going to incubate our local artists and performers and provide an opportunity for our successful artists in the community and in this community, and there are many, to mentor our youth. And we grow that artistic community based on successful festivals. Work that model. Develop that model. Be success for generations to come. Right now, and I was at the meeting that they approved the final design, approaching $2 million for a facility that's based on a design that's based on a facility in Markham. And my position hasn't changed since I announced my candidacy as well. There'll be lots of time for a new aquatic center. I don't know that it would ever be that design, let's put it that way, because it wasn't presented with any operating costs. And again, full, honest, transparent government. The elephant in the room is ensure the community understands in that 2020 plan, when they're talking about a new pool, that they're also talking about closing all the other recreational facilities to achieve the efficiencies so they can operate that one pool in that and rink in that area. Make sure the community fully understands that. But this has proceeded this far without a needs analysis. There has been no needs study done on this. In any event, I don't think it's an election issue at all. Quite frankly, I think that we simply cannot afford it right now at all. We simply, and that's because usually the funding formula is 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. We don't have our 1/3 of that, and we cannot afford to borrow, especially in a high interest rate environment with the infrastructure deficit that we have to fund, and the downloading costs that may come our way, that facility. I do know that, and I visited there with my campaign chairman, Gay Timmins, and the individuals that are there running that facility are tremendously proud of that facility. They do a great job, they run excellent programs, and they contributed to that design. And with all the enthusiasm of people that have the passion for what they do. But in talking to them, they realize, yeah, that facility needs some upgrades right now. I think it's becoming a self-fulfilling prophecy because, I mean, the grass wasn't cut. There's some windows that are rusted on the bottom. There's cracks in the sidewalk. All I know is $2 million that was spent to design the new one would have gone a long way to solve the immediate problems in that facility. Number one, the first thing is to acknowledge it. Acknowledge that, yeah, there's a problem. Number two, seek out the people, the professional people that you can work with to, and engage them in finding the solutions. That's the social agencies that already exist, that have ideas on how to tackle these problems. A lot of these problems are not just, certainly they're all hard luck cases, but there's certainly some mental health issues, and you have to be prepared to handle those issues 24/7. They don't happen between 9 and 5 in any given day, and we have to rethink how we provide those services, or at least sort out or seek out those that have the best possible solutions for it. But more importantly, how do you attack and solve the issue of them arriving there in the first place? That's where we have to focus. Why are they there? Why are they there? How did they arrive there? And seek out the answers for that, solve that problem, and it can be solvable. And the problem of homelessness, I think, is mitigated and disappears. Unfortunately, we know that the issues that lead people to arrive in that situation are not going to, they're not going to disappear overnight. We have to challenge all aspects of our society to do more. I mean, sure, it is very definitely a problem, an issue, and it's been an issue for a long time. We export our youth. Working with the Aboriginal Children Awards with John Kimbell, and he used to say the individuals, the kids in the reserves vote with their feet, and they vote with their feet, and then they leave their traditional communities and arrive in Montreal or Toronto or Timmins or anywhere else. So, and that is one aspect of our youth population that's growing and will continue to grow. The idea of keeping our kids here is twofold, as you say. If they have to leave here to get a higher education, then if we're successful in diversifying our economy and growing our economy, they will be back here to work. Clean air, good water, recreational opportunities that are at your doorstep, if that's the type of life that you want, that appeals to you, it's here. Those will always be here. Our economy typically has been cyclical, obviously. The resource economy is always cyclical. So you stabilize that with, again, post-secondary educational facilities, manufacturing facilities, agricultural product that we're part of that global community. How do you keep them? How do you get them back to the farm once they've seen Gay Pirie? Because they want to come back here. This is where the action is. This is where the action can be. This is where the action can be from a cultural and social and community and countrywide development. That's the best in Canada. Leading Canada in these new relationships. So they can be back involved there. And they can be back involved because they're in the agricultural sector and they're doing research on longer growing seasons we can feed the world from here, or be part of feeding the world. Droughts, we're not going to have. We had a dry summer, but we have unlimited water up here. Our soils are rich. They can come back up here for that. Manufacturing plants, whether it be cardboard, hydrogen, they can come back up here and work in that. Traditional resource industries with great government standards, there can be miles of head frames. Get them back up here, engaged in, because it's the best place to be. The healthiest climate and culturally rich, socially rich environment, and they will be here. As I said initially, I wouldn't be running if I didn't think we're at a critical juncture in the town's history. We've got to turn this around. I believe in my experience, my contacts, as well as my vision and belief in this community. Absolute belief. It's why I moved back up here. Why we're here now. Belief in this community and the quality of life here is a large reason, or chunk of the reason why I'm seeking your support for the office of Mayor of Timmins.